take his money and run. I'm a small-town girl. I work in a big supermarket. Every day, I clean the floor and stack the shelves. My life is simple, boring, and predictable. I wake up, put on my uniform, and walk to the supermarket called One Stop Shop. I spend my days surrounded by aisles of food and household products I can't afford. And I wonder if this is all my life will ever be. I live in a tiny apartment with a single window. My room has a bed with a thin mattress, a shaky table, and a chair that squeaks every time I sit down. A big mirror hangs on the wall. Sometimes the mirror bothers me. It reminds me of who I am, someone who feels invisible and powerless. At night, I dream about a better life. I imagine myself living in a house with big windows and soft furniture. I dream of wearing nice clothes, eating delicious food, and traveling to places I've only seen on TV. I dream of helping my family so they don't have to struggle. But when I wake up, I face the same reality. My dreams feel so far away, so out of reach. When I was in school, I didn't take anything seriously. I didn't study, skipped classes, and laughed at my teachers when they gave me advice. I thought I had plenty of time to figure things out. But that was my first big mistake. We never have enough time. I was young and I was foolish. I didn't plan for the future. As they say, fail to plan, plan to fail. My school friends were happy with what they had. They didn't dream of leaving town or going to college. They wanted to follow in their parents' footsteps.
Tom,
my boyfriend back then, planned to work at the same factory his father worked at. Lisa, my best friend, wanted to help her mother with the family restaurant. Sometimes I felt jealous of how happy they were. They didn't want anything more from life. I was different. I didn't want to spend my whole life in the same place. I wanted to travel. I wanted something bigger. I was restless. My friends were wonderful, and I cared about them a lot, but I had bigger dreams. I hoped that one day, my dreams would come true. Now I know better. A dream stays a dream unless you work to make it real. Without an education or skills, my opportunities are limited. Now, when I look at the future, all I can see is more of the same. Every day, I hope something will change. I wish for a miracle, winning the lottery or meeting someone who will rescue me. I hope I will stumble into an opportunity that will transform my life. But nothing ever happens. My dreams stay out of reach. Then one day, something did change. While I was putting on my jacket to go home, a guy named Ricky came to talk to me. He worked at the meat counter, but we had never spoken before. He asked me out, and we went to a nearby coffee shop. Soon, we were spending all our free time together and fell in love. Just like that, my life was different. But one thing is important to my story. We kept our relationship secret. We didn't tell anyone at work. We thought it would be better if no one knew about us. Ricky and I had a lot in common. We both wanted more out of life. Working at One Stop Shop wasn't our dream, but it was all we had for now. We talked about our plans all the time. Maybe we would move to a big city like New York or Los Angeles. Or maybe we'd go to another country where life could be better. We decided to save our money and give ourselves 10 to 12 months to make it happen. Ricky was always there for me. Whenever I felt tired or unhappy, he would find a way to cheer me up. He made me laugh, even on my worst days. With Ricky by my side, I really believed anything was possible. But Ricky had a past. He told me that he used to gamble. A lot. He would spend hours at the casino or playing cards with friends, and he had lost a lot of money. He promised me that part of his life was over. For a while, things were great. We kept saving money and dreaming about our future. But then I noticed Ricky started going out at night more often. He would leave after dinner and come back late. When I asked him where he had been, he would say, "I was just with some friends." One day, I checked our savings account and saw that money was missing. I was confused. We had promised to save every dime. When I asked Ricky, he smiled and said, "Don't worry. I needed it for something important. I'll put it back soon." But I couldn't stop worrying. I started to wonder if Ricky had gone back to gambling. He swore to me that he hadn't. "I would never do that to you," he said. I wanted to believe him, but something didn't feel right. Then, one fateful afternoon, I went to a convenience store near the supermarket to buy something for my lunch. I quickly grabbed a sandwich and a drink, then headed to the counter. While I was paying, the cashier, an Italian-looking girl, looked at my uniform and smiled. "I see you work at One Stop Shop." "Yes," I answered. "My boyfriend works there," the cashier said. "His name is Ricky. He works at the meat counter. Do you know him?" I was stunned. I stared at the cashier for a moment, trying to stay calm. I tried to process what she had just said to me. Finally, I forced a smile and said, "No," and walked out of the store, my lunch forgotten. I didn't tell a lie. At that moment, I realized I didn't know Ricky at all. The man I thought I loved, the man I dreamed of building a future with, was not the person I thought he was. The realization was like a hard slap in the face. As I walked back to work, the world seemed darker and colder. My heart felt heavy with the weight of uncertainty. That night, I didn't say anything to Ricky. I watched him laugh and talk like everything was fine, but inside, I felt like my world was falling apart. How could he do this to me, I thought. Was anything about our relationship real? That night, I couldn't sleep. My head was full of questions. Was Ricky lying to me the whole time? Was he really seeing someone else while planning a future with me? I felt angry, sad, and betrayed. But most of all, I felt foolish. How could I have trusted him so much? By morning, something had changed. I realized I didn't need Ricky. I could still follow my dreams, but I would do it alone, and I would do it today. When Ricky left for work, I quickly packed my suitcase. I didn't leave a note or send a message. I blocked his number on my smartphone. I didn't want to hear his voice ever again. I went to the bank and withdrew all our savings. I was stealing Ricky's half of the money, and that was bad, but I wanted revenge. There wasn't much money for two people, but there was more than enough for one. I bought a ticket for the first bus to New York. I felt like a fugitive as I boarded the bus. 2 years later. It's a small world, I guess. One day, I was walking down Fifth Avenue in New York and I bumped into one of the girls I used to work with in One Stop Shop. We talked about old times and then I asked her, "So, how's Ricky doing?" She asked, "Which one?" "What do you mean, which one?" I asked. There have always been two guys named Ricky at the meat counter. Didn't you know that? She asked.
I didn't know that.
Ricky Richards? I asked. Oh, he's still at the meat counter. The other Ricky got married to my cousin. Did your cousin work at a convenience store? I asked. An Italian-looking girl. Yes. Do you know her? She asked, surprised. No, I said. I just met her once. I realized then I had made a terrible mistake. My poor Ricky. I had stolen his money. I had punished him for something he didn't do. I left him without saying a word. He must hate me. I messed up again. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.